It seems very dramatic.
There you
Oh,
are.
hello, you there? All right. It seems very dramatic, but nothing really happens.
Right.
It's just like a big letdown. Um, well, thank you for jumping on me, in despite of your near
It was
near
fun. Nothing like
disaster.
getting a little bit of drama
Yeah,
right before the moment to pump the blood. So, right, lost power, sat down, ready to talk to
yeah,
you, geeked out,
yeah.
excited, all coffeed up. Boom, lights turn off. The world reminds us of like, okay, it's funny. And I was saying is, it's just what's great is how I literally turn into operator mode of what's the checklist?
Oh, yeah. You're like, what do we do in this situation? But that's the thing.
Yeah.
Restaurant people can handle shit on the fly. A lot of people can't. A lot of people bug out in that moment. I would have gotten 35 phone calls. Yeah, that's why. Yeah, we're
Yeah,
very
and
human,
it's fun.
to say the least.
And I'll talk to people that come in the ranks or just that I work with, and I'm like, look, I won't speak of other professions, right? I can't imagine the health industry or various things like that live, but to be an operator and to commit to being an operator is to wake up every day and just waiting to see how long until you get kicked in the groin. It's coming.
And you wake up. Yeah, right. It's it's one of those things where every day you're like, I feel good today. I'm on top of everything. I placed my orders. The schedules are done. I checked with the hostess. Everything's
Right.
good. And then what happens? The fucking lights go out. The grease trap backs up. The delivery guy can't come. They didn't pay. They didn't get the check for the delivery, so now the guy's waiting outside. Like, does
Completely.
that sound
And it
familiar? That
was,
type of
and I
stuff.
remember there was an assistant that I worked with, or assistant manager that was working with me for me. I was the GM, and I asked her to get the schedule done. Gave a couple days notice, and she was like, but two people called out today, and then the Wi-Fi had to be rebooted. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. That's why I only had the one thing and not seven things, because I'm assuming there are all these other things that are going to happen. And restaurants, it can't be like turning in a term paper at the end. You got to knock the things off the list while you can, because shit is coming.
Yeah,
Winter is coming. I never even watched that
yeah.
show, but it still
That's
makes sense to me.
that. Me neither. Never watched one episode of that, but I know exactly what you mean. Yeah, you have to have that reflex where you're like, all right, this is too chill. We got to go do something. Go do inventory. Go do this. Go do that. Because yeah, it's
Yeah,
always
and,
right
and
around the
so
corner.
in thinking about right
What
productivity from this is to be leaning on your front toes, not your back heels. It's something's here, be prepared for it and get ahead of it, which I love.
what was what was your first entrance or first experience
14
into
Burger King,
business?
lied about my age in Cleveland, Ohio, because I just was like, I gotta work there, Ma. She's like, really? I gotta
Oh,
work there.
you.
I
She's
gotta
like, that's
do
where
it. I
you want
love
to
their
work.
French toast sticks. And that was it. Funny. And I like the Whoppers too. But I grew up in my family businesses. I'm the fourth generation funeral director's son. So I am
Wow.
coming over 100 years, our funeral home. So to me, hospitality was ingrained, inbred. It was part of my life. It was learning these lessons of go pick up that piece of paper on the floor because your name's on the building. It was washing cars at 10 years old. I was there every Saturday washing cars. And I think I liked it. There wasn't much of a vibe that I could kind of jive with.
Yeah.
Not a lot of
Not much of an
ambiance.
ambiance.
There was something not soothing about it. I don't know, but the crew was funny. You know what I mean? The crew just
Yeah.
you had all. This is a dark group of people, right? Their humor is off, and
Yeah.
I'm not in the front office. I'm in the garage, right? I'm a porter there. I'm putzing around with people, and which was pretty awesome.
Right.
And so I knew I wanted to. I loved working, but I knew I had to get out of that vibe. And the vibe of Burger King, I don't know. I liked it there. And so that was my first job. Um, I
Did
still,
you have the hat?
the visor.
Burger King had the hat at the beginning. The
I'll tell you
visor.
what's
Wow,
funny
that's
is the
epic.
pride that I felt putting that visor on and before even showing up and getting those blue, not Dickies. They weren't as cool as Dickies, but my blue, somewhat like rough and tumble pants, hemmed. I'm like, I
Yeah.
fucking made it.
Yeah.
I am going places.
I mean, they had to appreciate
Absolutely.
your
And,
enthusiasm.
it was my enthusiasm, my, raucous. So that was my first attempt at the back of house where I dubbed myself the King Whopper Topper. And I was just like challenging people of who could make a faster Whopper. And yeah,
So that was full on production. That was just like you're working in the that you were working putting together burgers on
yeah,
that like
taking them
little
out of the
assembly line
broiler,
right there.
dropping them,
Okay.
putting them on, timing the person ahead of me, in front of me or across the line. I got you. Let's go. Um, Fries,
Yeah.
right? Just work the fries. And then I think it was then that I realized. So then they put me over to cashier, and I think it was then that I realized I was probably more front of house than back of house. Um, Worked the drive through,
Smart.
not proud,
Smart guy.
but did little things. I'm gonna, okay, so kind of opened up my hand a little bit. The coins would fall through. Sorry, I would go around, pick it up, buy myself lunch later. So I already had my
Oh wow.
systems down that I'm not so proud about being a nice Jewish boy from Cleveland, Ohio. But like,
Nailed it.
and I think part of that is, I think I turned out to be a good person. So you're gonna just watch out for those 14-year-olds. They're gonna be doing something mischievous, even if they're good people.
Yeah, I have one in this house. Well, she's actually
Yeah.
15, gonna be 16, so it's a whole new world for them though now. But I agree. I think they have to work she's got to work in a restaurant. She's got. I don't know about Burger King. There's closing.
They're
Aren't there? Burger King's,
rebranding.
like closing now.
They're
I just read
they're
that.
rebranding. They're putting a lot of money into it. We're gonna see how they do. They lost the fries war to McDonald's. Um, all of them
Yeah,
beat
clearly.
In and Out. Did you get your In and Out on the way out of town?
No, because it was like a fucking like everybody in Southern California was at all three that we stopped that we drove by. Most I you know my feelings on
Yeah,
it.
you were gonna take some home.
I shared that with you. Yeah, but I
They're the
think they're
worst
the
fries
worst
in the
fries in the
country.
country.
They're cardboard.
Yeah, thank you, thank God. Yeah, Sean, I think there's some blind. I think it's the people who live there. It's like a blind. They have like a nostalgia, so they're like, oh yeah, like they're not good, but they're good enough for me, and they kind of complete the picture, which I get. But side by side comparison, I mean, we could probably walk anywhere out of that
Any
hotel
place.
and go get some fries over there. That bodega, yeah. What's up with that? Do you
You
think
know,
is that
it's a question
intentional?
I've been asked. I have no idea because, right, they're spending the time to hand cut it or drop the machine and
Exactly.
and
Yeah.
which is a safety concern, which is all of these other things, labor and whatnot, and it's just
Yeah.
awful. And I've gotten into some businesses where we work on that, and then you twice fry it, and then if you marinate it or you brine it or
Yeah.
I don't know. Just get some frozen fries. They're incredible. Get them out of the bag, drop
Yeah.
them in.
Yeah. They are the Simplot. Yeah. It's my theory on if you can't make it better, nobody cares. Like with these chefs who make their own ketchup, they're like, it's a ginger ketchup. I just want Heinz in the bottle. Let's just do
So
that. Can we just have that with my fries? I'm not, if you can't make it better, then what's the
that's great.
commercial that people
That's
actually
great. And I've heard
recognize?
some of your
So
podcasts. I don't think I've heard you say that before. If you can't make it better, right? Don't fix a problem that isn't there. And that's a
yeah,
good.
right.
I like that one a lot. It was funny with Umami Burger. Truffle ketchup was big, right? And people really did like it. So that was what was cool was it definitely did a twist, but you still had to make sure you had the regular ketchup as well, right?
Yeah. There's even debates like is the Heinz better out of packets or bottles? Like some real
What do you
crazy
think?
stuff. But I remember that truffle ketchup. I mean, you guys kind of caught that truffle thing right at that time. Talk about that. Was it Umami Burger your next? Were you like
No,
there's something
there's
better than Burger King?
yeah,
I'm going
there's a few steps in
a
between.
few steps in between. Okay, I want to get there.
Managed my local
Okay,
coffee house, which was great because I'd learned about. Here's an interesting thing I'd learned about: don't try to push something in a community that's not ready for it, but still elevate it a little bit. The old boobies and the Russian men
yeah,
sitting there did not care that all of a sudden we were bringing in Jamaica Blue Mountain into the local coffee house. You know, they were like, what? And so, but I still elevated her sales. At
Yeah.
16, I went in, I gave her a whole business plan. This lady who worked at the local mall, ran the local mall, and elevated her sales. But it's still my vision wasn't didn't turn out that way. And so let's jump to Umami real quickly about that, which is fun. So a lot of stuff in between. Got a degree in psychology. Worked with Thomas Kalickia. All this stuff. But I'm going to jump into this idea of Umami. They were a perfect example of you can't fabricate it. It just is. Once you catch it, don't screw it up. And people would come to me and say, after Umami, all right, we want to design this concept. What do you think was the secret sauce? What do you think it was? Whatever they got in a bottle worked. And I've watched a lot of people try to create something. And unfortunately, I've watched some people have it. Like you'll have a lot of these founders that are creative and they have their number one hit and their single and they don't double down on that. Their mind starts to wander on the next idea and you lose it. So if you have it, appreciate it and then just try to not screw it up as you scale it.
That's similar to the conversation that we were having with
Virgie,
Virginia
yeah.
and her husband.
Yeah, and her business
And
partner, yeah.
yeah, they were talking about like
I don't know what
sorry,
maybe they are.
so they
You're more in tune than I am.
I mean, you know, yeah. um, but yeah, like I have a good friend, same thing, super talented, crushed it, got lucky, had some bad luck. Now he just can't. He's just firing his gun in every direction. I mean, and it's like, dude, just if you would just pick one, you would dominate, and you just can't. He has the secret sauce on almost anything he touches, but he wants to touch 30 different.
And it's a problem. I mean, focus is always a problem, especially if you get the creative. That's why I loved coming in with a couple different brands and saying, "There's magic here," and now let's figure out how to scale this thing. What is the culture? What's the scalability? What's the process? Take for instance Chipotle. Here's a perfect example. You have one of the top brands. They got together 10 years ago and said, well, let's do it again. They put the best R&D team together, the best real estate team together. They found 15 sites that were perfect. They R&D'd to the end. And then all of those spots you see now they're biboba, they're just different things. It didn't work because people didn't line up. There was something about it that didn't bring people back. You're talking about a company that has good processes, good people, everything that would make me say, I'll invest in this thing because it's the right leadership team. But people didn't vote with their wallets. And that was it.
Ultimately, right. How do they recover? How do
Well,
they find that?
You pass off your real. Well, I'm sure you come in with people that are like, okay, let's keep the 5-year lease extension that you got on this.
Yeah.
We're pennies on the dollar, right? And so, and it's fortunately they've got enough money that it doesn't matter. They got $1 billion in R&D or whatever type of thing annual. So a lot of people can make that mistake, wow. and I see people who will come to me and I'll see a business plan that they're like 20 locations and they haven't launched the first. Or you'll deal with that with people who have one great location and they're selling on the IFCOM of 10. And how well do you understand who that market is and why and how they recreated it? I get obsessed over that stuff.
Yeah, I mean, what do you think about this? I mean, I specialize kind of in that 3 to 7 units, 3 to 10 units, right? But it's a very difficult stage to be in because even if you have 3 partners, now you're all separate, running your own business. What does that look like? And kind of go ramps up from there. I don't need to tell you, but I say, how do you guys want this to end? Do you want to build this to 10 and sell it? Do you want to ultimately bring this to a franchise group? Because to me, all these steps that you're talking about are like guided by how you want it to end, right? Like if you're going to franchise it versus you're going to hold on to these forever, you're going to keep these 5 units. There are a lot of different decisions that have to be made in there.
Right.
Not one of them are probably the same.
Right. Yeah.
Would you agree with that? You've scaled a bunch of content.
It's amazing how much the franchising world. So I'm much more experienced in the grow it yourself, corporate owned stores, and I was like, oh, franchise, I can do. No, it is. It's a different world, and right when you start to get into the FDDs, and you just start to get into, and then there's this idea of, am I actually, I've never seen a pro forma that didn't look good. Right. And so what are you,
Yeah, right.
what type of numbers are you showing? What do you disclose? What do you need to or not disclose? And so it's a different thing when you're building it on that front. I personally love the founders have done something great. Let's figure out where all the efficiencies are to scale it. Let's get ourselves out of the weeds. Let's then get the founders out of anything that is going to get in the way of growth, which happens all the time, founderism. And I became good at saying, all right, shoot the bullets at me. I don't want you going to the GM in the store or the HR or anybody that you've got this idea or marketing. You come to me first. We talk through it. I filter it, and we see how to communicate this to the team so it makes sense. And so I love that. That's my experience. And then you're right. Are you looking to build a business that you are going to, do you have to pay investors back on your second store? Are you raising capital now to build a brand, or are you raising capital on just each store? And it starts to, you structure it differently. I will say this to anybody listening, because I'm trying to be of value to anybody. I mean, I'm excited to geek out with you and talk shop. I can tell you time and time again, if you think you can get 5 stores, 1 store, running at 20%, and you've truly, and you and I were talking about this a little bit with Virgie, is have you truly figured out how to get every percentage point out of this before recognizing that economies of scale is going to be the solution? And if you can make this work, make that work. And with Umami Burger, and not to kiss and tell in that sense, and they're out there and they're doing things, but I had a day with them where I said, you're raising capital and we've got to figure out how to be 150 stores and at this. And I said, this concept is no more than 30 across the United States, 50 at best, at 2.5 million to 3 million top line with a, I'll get you 20 to 22% EBITDA. That's a great living.
Right.
That is amazing. You could pay your initial investors. No, we've got to be this. And so you get too far over your skis and you start to change things and you start, I think to anybody, it's about what's the soul? What's the reason people are coming back? Honor that and don't bullshit anybody about it.
What made you Umami?
A shared understanding of, you think I can take you to 150 units at this? Not a chance. Well, if you can't be the guy, you can't be here. And a year later, a new CEO called me and said, I wrote a manifesto. And he said, I read your manifesto. I think you were right. And again, Umami does, and they figured out a way to pivot and navigate, and they're up, they're growing global. It's a different concept. It's managed to move with the time. So I'm careful to not put anything against Umami. I just know what I get passionate over. And I know where I'm the right value. I'm great to get you to 20 units.
Right.
Beyond that, I'm not the guy you want on the team because I'm squirrel, right? I'm going off here and I'm not the guy.
Yeah. Yeah. That's important though. I mean, if you recognize that, you probably saved yourself a lifetime of
Sure.
stress and anxiety instead of because the a lot of folks will be like, yeah, I can do it to take the increase in pay or to more exposure for the experience, but at what expense, right? Like, if it's so much better to be self aware and know, like, hey, I can't,
And,
I have
and you
no
start
interest
to
in doing
you start to
this.
lie to yourself about where your value is. And so, there's that whole argument of follow your passion. I'm under the I'm under the follow your value. Uh, that hopefully you care about something, but you bring a unique value to it because that will feed incremental success, even plus 1%. If I showed up and I actually contributed to this environment, is unbelievably rewarding in your health and well-being and the people around you. So know what you are,
Yeah.
figure it out, and add that value. And then don't be afraid to put people around you who are going to take your job if they're going to be better than you and grow them up, and then you go help the
Yeah.
next thing. I'm fine with that. I've created the farm league that has given me the permission to exit the ship on multiple occasions, and it's good.
Yeah. Yeah. That's why Jensen always,
Yeah.
Jensen is a host on, Sean and I have another podcast, and Jensen always makes fun of me because I always refer to like having a deep bench and like having a bench of people that you can go to and talk to about growth, about issues that you're whatever. It's sort of like a tribe of mentors versus your bench inside the restaurant, but your bench as an operator, people who you can rely on and talk to and bring in and certain situations. It's so crucial to grow. No one grows these concepts, and I always on their own. And I always say that like it's ego. I just feel like it's why do restaurants fail or why do they do this and why haven't they pivoted or which I hate that word, but I always feel that it's ego. They don't want this person here. They're not responding to or reading online reviews because these people don't know anything. I mean, you experience any kind of ego that has had a negative impact on a restaurant
Sure. I
before?
mean, there's ego. There's a lot of ego comes from fear, right? So it's the ego,
Oh
but it's
yeah,
the inability to let go of something. I think it's the inability to really understand that you've also should no longer be in this seat. You should be moving to a different seat. There's the ego to let go
yeah,
and say, or it's a strength to say, you know what, I'm bringing somebody else on. Maybe I did the marketing to this point, but it's time for me to get somebody on board who understands what a campaign, not a son of a gun. Why didn't we post for, you know, for
yeah.
Valentine's Day? Let's get a post out now,
Big
right? We didn't
difference.
do it. And
Yeah,
yeah, so ego to me
yeah. Right.
is not letting go, and that does become a problem. And sometimes it's also
Yeah,
not willing to turn and look at the rough stuff. Uh, Either way, it's funny. You hope that you build a company to a point that you look at every task as two things. Does it give me energy or does it take energy? And every task that gives you energy, you try to keep to a degree and then find somebody that it gives them energy and pass it. And everyone that takes energy, you try to get rid of. But in growing, you have to just look at things that take energy. You gotta get through the contracts.
yeah,
You gotta get through the legal. You gotta
yeah.
file today. I'm going to do the final piece of my taxes to get the K-1s out for my company. Right? It's do I?
Yes.
It's
Nobody
just
does
so
that, right?
draining.
That's not what you got into it for. Yeah, no, and that's funny. I made a piece of content this morning that who knows will ever see the light of day, but that's exactly what I said. Is like restaurants who, because I talk to all these guys and they're like, yeah, feeling stuck and can't find the right people and sales are down because of the yeah, but like, are you looking at anything else? Are you just kind of going in your rut? And I feel like when you're in that rut, you do have to look at those things that you don't want to look at. And oftentimes, if you look at them first and just tackle them, that's when you get that momentum. Like, okay, all right, that wasn't that big of a deal. Boom, what's next? What's next? What's next? But if you just sit there and loathe this like situation that's happening that you don't think you have any control over,
Yeah,
it's
the
just
ostrich
really,
syndrome
really
syndrome
defeating.
as well. It's just not good. You're sticking your head in the sand and wondering, no, just
Yeah,
tackle it head on. do what you need to do. And if it's a rough thing, prepare yourself. Make sure you tackle it after you got some sleep, drink some water, maybe set yourself up for a nice meal afterwards. Do the reward. I'm gonna go through this, and I'm going out to a nice dinner after this. And I don't get to do the dinner unless
Yeah.
I do this. You know, yeah,
Wow, that's some
well,
serious
I
advice.
learned it back in this is a restaurant community, so there's no it's not too sensitive. But like I did that in college. I knew the second I got back to the apartment, bong tokes were flying. I would not let myself go back to the apartment until I
Yeah.
made it through the library. And hopefully your 15-year-old daughter isn't listening to this. I just and to everybody, but it was the
No,
idea
it's
of
all right.
I was always good about
I love that.
how do I match things up? And in Atomic Habits, which I'm obsessed over the book, he talks
Yeah,
about
yeah,
that. So if you got to do things, find a way to hack it, right? Connect it to something.
yeah. It is a definite hack. It went okay. So now you're out of Umami Burger. You're like can't help you guys any longer. You
Then I,
guys
I
have
really
this.
was able to help. What was that?
Did you immediately step into something? Did you immediately step into something? Did you take some
I had
time to like
I had
chill
what
out
was
for a
great
bit?
was I had done well in Los Angeles. Took Cube, this amazing cafe, to which Umami poached me from. Took them to a beautiful, glowing review from Irene Verbilla, who was a just she was not a nice reviewer, right? And so this was and I kind of hit that, which was great. And I built good community, so I started, just as fall into it was okay. You want to consult, sure. And I just got the opportunity to work with some amazing chefs and help them open the restaurants. And that's when I was able to carry over one of the key things. One great thing about Umami was obviously the power of training and being able to document what the culture and the values are on paper enough so that you attract the right people to then build the culture in person and be humans next to humans. The second thing was if you have how fast it's amazing, a large sum of money can run out the door if you're being inefficient. And so, it's like even it's how much I learned the power of a critical path to opening and knowing what your timeline is, having it be dynamic because you're going to have. I can tell you, anybody listening to this who's got a boss is like, we're opening September 15th. He wants to open September 15th. That's happening. Well, you know what? I tell you who doesn't care. The
January
the
15th.
the gas meter, right?
Yeah.
DWP in LA, they don't care about what your boss thinks, right? Uh, just the city
No.
planners, they don't care. They don't care. And so having a critical path to
No.
opening was key. And so I started to help people open and really get that experience. Because it's amazing, even to the point of helping, and I say with this respect, one of my openings so excited was Gucci Osteria, helping them with Chef Massimo Bottura open, right? I mean, I've worked with some, oh man,
No. Wow.
I'm really lucky. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean,
When
yeah,
the hell did that
that was a
happen?
few
That's
years
pretty great.
ago. After I had long been in my current business, which we'll get into, right? Arrow Up Training, but I still
Yeah.
like helping consult every now and then to just get involved. So that was great. But even coming into a place like Gucci that had opened up, a very successful company and opening up retail. Well, now you're opening up your first restaurant in the United States, and I'll tell you what, here's the
Yeah.
problem you're going to run into, and you're not foreseeing it because of the list. And what's going to happen is we're going to hire 40 people, and they're going to show up, but they're not going to be able to go inside the door because we haven't passed the fire inspection. And so we're going to be standing outside, and we're going to try to, what are we going to do? Team camaraderie? Are they going to sign their hand? Are we going to go into the office and trust falls?
Trust falls.
Right? All right, checklists over trust falls,
Yeah.
man. That's one of my posts that you'll see coming out. That I did a fun little thing of just like, I know it's great. We're all kumbaya, but who's doing the side work? And how do I know that? That's all I want to know.
Yeah.
Who's doing the fucking side work?
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Can we
So,
be able to get out of
are
here
we gonna get
today?
out of here? So, um, and where's John? He left. What the?
What?
So
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
yeah,
Less is
no, but he
simple for
put
sure.
more in. He believed it. So I went and I helped open up some really great spots from here to San Francisco to all around. Then I jumped on board with Sweet Lady Jane, good brand. They brought me in to scale and grow. I said shrink. They said, "Wait, really?" I said shrink. You're not. You. It's not organized. But what was really cool was, yeah,
I'm not familiar
not
with that.
familiar.
What,
Yeah,
what was
yeah.
that?
They
Is
they
it still
shrunk
around?
and they really regrouped and they were Sweet Lady Jane is it's like Oprah's favorite. They're high end cakes. They did amazing stuff and
Okay.
they wanted to be everything and food part and all of this stuff um and they it was just too many SKUs and they were too dependent on the institutional knowledge and not enough on the streamline. There was no lean, right? The concept of figuring that out. And they weren't ready to face it. And I took them to a commissary model, which was great. And that's a great experience to be able to do that. And I'd done that with Umami Burger a bit. And so I'd had experience taking people to a commissary model and figuring out what's out of store and what's in store. And I got to do that a couple times, which is really cool because you really start to look at the books in a unique way. But I said, unless you're willing to sort of shrink your SKUs and get everything going, we don't know yet what we are. And I can tell you in 6 months, we're going to close the
Yeah.
last lease you signed. And so you don't need my salary
Yeah.
right now. And it was agreed upon. Jump back to consulting. And,
That's
um,
honest.
and then I started the app. I started to build a training app. And
How? Oof, that's a bit of a leap. Wow. What would so? Yeah, I've looked at the website. I've obviously seen your stuff and listened to you a bunch of times. It's a huge issue in the industry. This training thing. Tell me what. How do you dive into that world? You weren't a tech guy, right? Obviously, you had to look
yeah,
into
it
it. What was
was,
that
what was
process
funny
like?
was it started with, and this was 6 years ago or something. It started with it's going to be a information portal training, and then I realized I wanted to do scheduling. 7 Shifts, great brand. You might know of them. Anyone watching the podcast, Cal is wearing a 7 Shifts.
No, plug,
Yeah,
plug.
incredible
Yeah, yeah.
brand. They hadn't made it to the West Coast. They were still building up and going. And I was like, I'm going to start with
Mm-hmm.
this. And I started to build this out and felt that there wasn't as much love. But really, what happened was I got a great call from a great friend who said, also in the real estate game, who said, listen, I know you're doing this and I know you're into training and I know you want to get going. But yeah, there's the site. But I think I want to introduce you to a couple people, and this was Tocaya, Organica, who could really use what you do. Why don't you get in a little equity? Why don't you jump in one more time, get your hands dirty, and really build this thing? And
This is
it
a
really
Seinfeld
was.
reference here.
Yeah,
Told you
it
what to do.
was. Don't let me sleep with the fishes. I just want to. And in between, I had worked with incredible operators out of New York and put Bloomfield in them and really done a lot with training and whatnot. And so I got with these guys, and that took me out of tech for a while to build them. And then I'd had this inkling to take me back to training. Here's what it is. And I'd like your thoughts on this, right? I've built so many training programs for so many amazing companies, from scalable global brands to Gucci, right? From the mom and pop shop to
Mm-hmm.
high end to global. And there's just a universal quality to all of them that is sure, you can be counter service, you could be full service, but there's still a style of hospitality. There's, hold the glass, the bottom 50, don't put it by the fingerprints. I don't care if you serve from the left or the right, keep your hand out of the customer's line of sight or conversation.
Yep.
There's all of this that I love. And I said, all right, I can put this together for out of the box training for independent operators. In the meantime, phase one is let's do safety, compliance, and leadership because that's something people need. Let's solve this problem that people need. So we're solving that. Here's my question for you. We're now coming out with the next iteration of the app. Great team. It is safety, compliance, and leadership. Restaurants that are 4 to 30 units realize that you've got to solve it. It's OSHA. It's leadership development, which I'm a huge fan of. Teach those 19-year-olds how to have awkward conversations with their coworkers and friends. It's safety, it's compliance, it's in a unique voice. We do anti-harassment training for the restaurant industry in our voice, interviewing chefs. It's not cheesy reenactments. It's stories, right? And it's also understanding that we're all weird. All of us that have come to be a part of this thing are weird. And so it's safety, it's anti-harassment there. We're building on leadership. So we're gonna do a baseline, and then the idea is this. But I'm gonna get to something in a second. I'd love your thoughts. So this is our core unit, and now we're partnering with insurance companies, saying those that do this deserve lower premiums. That you need to incentivize them. You don't want to. I learned during the pandemic, insurance companies actually don't want to raise your premiums. They just don't want to pay out on stupid things that were avoidable, And so that fire was avoidable. This lawsuit was avoidable. So we said, all right, we're going to take all of the things OSHA says to do that lowers that risk by 60% and do it. And insurance companies are going to help fund us. So that's our core business. 4 to 40 units. Those are the ones that realize that they're liable and exposed. And I'm sorry, whoever you are, you might have the greatest culture in the world. Someone's going to slip and fall. Someone's going to cut themselves. And someone's going to sue you. So here's my next question to you. What do you think, though, as I've got this amazing creative team, I'm like, let's now do what my original vision was, which is this independent operator opens up shop and they've got all of the 101s of training, bar, knife skills, service skills, cashier skills. It's out of the box and it's ready to go and able to be adaptable if you want it. I don't know. You think we should put some energy towards that for independent operators, or stick with the core focus of safety compliance, which is our bread and butter?
I think then you're going to get into maybe you're going to get into more customization. I'm sure people have asked you to add different things and do different, I'm a big believer, similar to what we were talking about with restaurants before, go with what the fastball, right? Like what's really, really working. Mariano Rivera, I always say, I don't know if you're a baseball fan, but Mariano Rivera didn't say, I'm going to throw a curveball today.
Right.
Every day, this is what's working. Nobody is touching it. And I know in restaurants, this is a notorious thing, right? Like people want to do something different, or let's change up the menu because we're bored of it. Oh, I hate seeing that salad. Can we just get rid of it? It's 40% of our advertising sales. No, we can't get rid of it. Yeah, I don't know. Talk about how the app works first, because when I first heard of Arrow Training a long time ago, I think it was in a clubhouse room, I was like, man, that's really cool, but how do you make it work for every restaurant? How does it work, and what exactly are restaurants using it for?
Yeah, so up until just recently, we white labeled through another app, and it was you signed up because you needed anti-harassment training, and then you needed safety training, and then you wanted to do leadership training. And so we deploy the content. We've been a content arm, and as well as we do custom content for companies. So right now we're doing it for Tocaya, this great Acme, this other great company. We're working with a couple mental health brands. We've worked with the city of Santa Monica. We do a lot of custom. Oh yeah, we're actually a content arm. Okay. Forget it. No.
Yeah, do it.
Yeah, that's what we are. I mean, that's been our bread and butter, is custom content. And the idea was we work with other great LMSs who are LMSs. We're not that, right? But Wisetail, and some other good ones that we license it through them. And I just said, we could be more if we really built something that was sexy and spoke a modern way. And you can see on the screen, if not, it's like, it looks like Apple TV Plus. Like we built this, and it's the way that
Yeah.
we engage with content. What's in the top left corner? That's, it's like Netflix. It's like, so the master class for restaurants is what we're starting to fold into this. And the way it works is if you're an independent restaurant, you literally reach out, sign up, and you just go on the journey with us. And so immediately it's laid out. We lead your safety leads. We take your leaders down the path, anti-harassment, safety, leadership. We got it baseline. Then if you want more, you come to us. If you're a larger group, we customize for you, and we then start to fold that into the app for you. And one of the big things that we do is micro training. So it's every week the leads will get a little follow-up, little micro training or things like that. So it's that constant general pressure that our great heroes and like Danny Meyer talk about.
Yeah. Yep. And now that's actually on. It's an app on the phone, so you'll get like a notification like, "Hey, you need to
It
take this leadership
it's
course."
it's on the phone, it's on tablets, computer. We don't. It's funny. We're figuring out notifications in California. You got to be wary of that. But
Yeah.
yep. Yep.
Want
But you can
and
access
stuff
it
like
on,
that.
on any, it's a web app, so you can access it anywhere. And we're rolling out of beta. And it's pretty cool. And so I can just start to fill out this library. So again, right, our initial customers who have been on our other platform are transferring over to this with us. It's great. Joe and the Juice, fantastic growing company, one of our biggest clients for anti-harassment training. They took us to London. Great culture. Yeah, they took, it was great. She's like, it was really cool. She was like, we work with a bunch of different vendors, and my managers keep coming to me saying like, screw it, stop, arrow up. They talk our talk. Like that's our thing.
Yeah. Yep. That's a huge. That's the same thing for me. Like I hate the word broker. I can't stand it. And I hate coming from the restaurant business into this business. I just hated how everybody thought that they had such. Like we're all showing space, right? That's what we do. Like you don't have anything really that I don't know about, or like maybe we have some relationship driven stuff that keep in our back pocket and something's coming available, working with a developer. But for the most part, if you're looking in this section if you're looking in Soho, if you're looking in the West Village, Lower East Side, or Upper West
Right.
Side, I could tell you what's available, right? And I always was like, how can I leverage? How can I make it different? And it's just by being like, hey, I was you. I know what it's like to be approached by brokers and have these things. Like, what are you guys actually looking for? What's your plan 3-5 years from now? Like, it's like you speak the language and you have like this card that lets you into the club, that lets you know like, hey, yes, this is bullshit. This part actually is not bullshit, and they trust you. They want
Yeah,
more.
and I
from
think
you.
it's great. By the way, as I was looking at your shirt, if anyone from Seven Shifts listens to this, I am not getting anywhere near the scheduling game. We are we are partnering with them to work together because they crushed it. So I just thought of something. It's funny as you're talking. I'm like, wait a minute, I need them to know. It's like they're doing what they're, and even like Toast, they're getting. That you saw that they're talking with. There was at the Spark. There was an insurance. So it's all just kind of working together and playing our role. Coming to back what you're doing, but I just had to for Arun and for all them out there being like, no, we're not touching that game. Yeah, you got it, you locked it, you're crushing it. We work with you, but
Yeah, we had Jordan. We
yeah,
had Jordan on, the CEO, on the other podcast last week, and he's just this.
yeah,
His,
I
this
love
he
his
started
story.
as a
I
script
love his
writer.
backstory, and so
Yeah, it's amazing. Yeah, so yeah,
I want to
those
work.
collaborations are where it's at. Nobody has to.
100%.
Nobody has to cover it.
It's so in the time that I started and stepped off that ship, that tech is long gone and done. The new tech is this beautiful platform, and it's funny. I was talking to them before I built our latest version. I'm like, "Are you getting into the training compliance game, like OSHA compliance?" They're like, "No, we're in the wage and hour compliance." I'm like, "Great." Yeah, right. I'm like, I'm a communication
Yeah,
platform that can help teach of why that stuff's important. So not to jump left or right, but I got this chill down my spine. Back to what you were talking about. I think that's why you're approaching. I love how you're approaching it, where you're speaking the language and you're giving them added value far beyond you're showing them. I understand how to, real estate's just a piece of it. I've been there. So sure, I'm going to teach you what to look for as a clause in the lease, but also I'm going to tell you about a story that I had about team or menu or this podcast, right? Where you're bringing this holistic
Yeah.
approach to it, is amazing because then, right, then you you trust it. You trust when you're bringing a site to them or they're coming to you for a site. It's a bigger picture, and same with me in talking. Sure, we're talking of anti-harassment and whatnot, and our friend Troy Hooper, he's like, your culture.
Mm.
Yeah, he's like your culture.
Yeah.
That's what you do. You come in, and so we're doing a culture of safety, and then we're building on leadership, which I think is the biggest thing to do. Culture, but I like having. Yeah,
Culture is so important. But you, like you said before, when shit hits the fan, that culture, you're going to see the real culture, right? Like it is so tough. And I think people throw it around like it just means like everybody's nice.
no.
That's not the culture. That's like 1/1000th of the culture.
One of the
That's the
reasons why I'm
dirt part of the culture.
so obsessed with checklists over trust falls, going back to our thing before, and it's funny. Yeah, well,
Is
it's
that
a
your
post
next
that I've
book?
got just sitting here. Like I've made a fun little video, so you'll see it, and I'll call you out on it. No, the next book is we're all a little fucked up. So
Oh, that's
yeah. So
agree.
yeah,
Yeah.
so
No argument
all
there.
right. So here's a little
Looking forward
tools
to look at
how
that.
I'm figuring my way out. But with checklists, if you organized environments attract organized people. And so people will say to me, are you trying to motivate the line cook? No. I'm trying to put infrastructure in place so that the ones that want to show up feel like that they're in an environment that they have structure, that the leaders have learned, the 19 to 25-year-old knows how to ask a question before making a statement to somebody. They understand that, and then you will attract people who want to be a part of it. So now you have a playbook, and you have the people that feel supported. Then when the shit hits the fan, you've got at least a better chance.
Yeah. And I think, from psychology, maybe this is something that you're familiar with because we've experienced it and had talked to psychiatry, whatever, psychologists, people who deal with this stuff. And it's about like, when you do bringing people into your space and you're the leader and they're looking to you like, hey, what's next? Or the manager or the chef or whoever, and you start to lose it a little bit, it creates a panic amongst everybody else. Like, oh, I look to this guy to hold us through this shit, and now if he's fucking crumbling, what? If he's crumbling and he's been taking the bullets for me, like that's not good for me. Now what? Now I'm on the front lines, and I don't want any piece of that. I mean, I think our industry has been filled with that, where it's like I forget the guy Ken McGarry. You know Ken McGarry? He wrote
Oh
the book
yeah.
The Surprise Manager, which is like, surprise, you're the manager now. He bailed. You're the manager now. I mean, I think that culture of being able to maintain leadership, and that's why I think leadership training is so important because you got to be able to step up. You got to be able to realize your role and be able to assume different things. And I think that's a major
And
piece
one of
of
the
the culture.
that's why I think in the first book, I appreciate that 100%. And even beyond the
Yeah,
supervisors, that's why the first book I wrote, Please Don't Sleep with the Host, is right. It's literally yeah,
I love the
yeah.
please. I love the please in that. Like, come on, you have
And
to
I
be
say that
pleased.
in the
Like,
book. I'm like, some of the
say it again.
greatest mentors slept with the host. That's why I said it. But it's like if you just
Yeah,
didn't, it it just
yeah,
be
it would be so
so
much better
much
if you
better
didn't.
if you didn't, but you did, and you're one, so, but and it's the philosophy of what type of leader are you, right? And so, I get really into um, sleep if you can, right? Try to water.
Yeah,
If you're going to do the coffee at 4 p.m., do water with it. My big thing is change your socks mid shift
yeah.
because how your feet are. It's a great one, you know.
It's like running. It's like
It's a
runners, right?
great
They
one.
just go, yeah,
So
exactly.
all these things that put you
Your
in
stuff.
to the right space. Have you put your oxygen mask on first so that when the shit hits the fan,
Yeah, that's a great one. Like, yeah, I mean, I remember when our restaurant was really cranking, I was also happened to be like in the best shape of my life, and I was like, because you're just better suited to handle it. You know, you're more hydrated, you're eating better, you're lighter on your feet, you're getting your sleep, you're reading your book. Yeah, but our industry is notorious for not so much, information around that. Do you
Um,
sense that that's
yeah,
changing?
maybe because there's a global conversation with it. And it was interesting. I don't know what's happening as far as mental health awareness in our industry. I can tell you, like, we have courses about empathy and reflection and all this stuff. And during the pandemic, we worked with the city of Santa Monica to build de-escalation training and all this. And we gave away so many free resources. There were so many psychologists and therapists and people that gave away all of their time, and not enough people called and used it. And I hope so. I think there's a
Yeah,
conversation. It's de-broing a bit, right? The industry, and it's shifting. I
yeah,
just all of it, right? The tough guy, the it was funny. I kind of like the Jewish mother of every company. And look, I struggled with it myself. Probably one of the greatest things that I did was when I came out, right, as a gay man in the industry, because then all of a sudden it was just like I could tell I could make fun of anybody about anything. I could jump on the sword first.
yeah,
I literally was like, there was no persona that I was putting up. And I'm a good operator. You want me in the weeds with you. I will show up what needs to happen. Let's go. And I guess why do I bring that up? I haven't brought that up on a podcast before, but you made me think about this idea of taking care of yourself. I think I just disarmed, right? I immediately stepped away from being the bro
oh
culture,
yeah,
but at the same time, I'm still your motherfucking leader, and you are all will walk the plank if you challenge the captain. I will show you that.
yeah.
And how do you feel today?
Yeah, right. That's a big thing, right? Like I know, like the not 9 to 5 crew, they're into that, and I just saw they launched a new initiative. But yeah, not enough. We actually talked about this with 7 shifts. Is that feedback loop with your employees? Like, hey, what's up with you? What's going on? Instead of just like, hey, did you clear table 10? Hey, what's going on with? Why are they dragging on desserts over here? Did you drop the menu? They said they're pushing on you for like. You got to talk like a human. What's going on? How's your son? Or are you guys going away? You guys mentioned you were trying to humanize yourself a little bit. But yeah, I think that's leadership, man. And I don't think everybody has it. I don't think everybody has it. I think that there's a lot of fear to it, but I think it's ultimately what people will be drawn to. They want to be led. They
They,
want to be led by somebody. And to the extent that you've disarmed yourself, like I've heard the analogy made, people who are insecure, just even about creating content, restaurants who don't know what to do. The analogy of like that last scene in 8 Mile, where I don't know if you're familiar with that movie. You know 8 Mile. Okay, so the last scene, Eminem gets up there and he just basically says, "Let me guess, you're gonna call me poor, you're gonna call me a crackhead, you're gonna tell me my mom's a whore, you're gonna do this," and the guy just looked at him like, "Yeah, okay,
yeah,
got it. I know all that about me," and
yeah.
that is
That's
such a liberating feeling, and it's like,
you know what
let's go. I'm ready to go.
I
I'm ready to
appreciate
go to
that.
battle.
I appreciate, and I've spent a month in Detroit, and I spent a lot of time on it. Every summer I go back there to my old band. Yeah, my old band's there, or my current
Really?
band, I guess, that we play with. So I was in a band
You're
in,
in a
in
band?
college, and then we regrouped afterwards. And I moved to New York, and our claim to fame is our claim to fame. We did the title track to Shameless. Yeah, on Showtime. So that's me
Oh,
on opening
that's dope.
guitar. Yeah, it's good. Still good.
There you go.
Eh, 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 Yeah, and so I really appreciate how you said that, because I think you're right.
Yeah,
When I disarmed everybody with that, it was I took away their power and then gave them power and space. It's really an interesting thing when you disarm somebody for a moment by taking away their weapons, almost by saying, "There's no target for you that can hurt me." But how about, and I'm going to
yep,
drop my guns too. You need some water? Did you change your socks? You need that.
yeah.
That's why it's that idea of like, some people get it. Some people are like, whatever, dude. But like when I call myself the Jewish mother of a company as we're growing, and I'm just like, whatever it is, it's the idea of you,
Yeah.
we have, we have a job to do. And that's why, I fired a good amount of people. And sometimes it's just to show so that I can be really sweet with everybody else, but they know they're with a leader who will make the difficult decisions. You know, you had said it, people want
Yeah.
to be led. I learned a lesson the hard way was that I used to be so democratic. And I still think you have to get everybody's opinion and stuff. But how do you feel? What do you think we should go? I learned people would rather follow decisiveness off a cliff twice than an indecisive leader.
Right. Oh yeah. Right. You have to build up that I'm gonna make this decision come hell or high water. We're gonna get through this together, and 95% of the time I'm gonna be right. Gonna be scary, but yeah, they trust it when you go to battle with them. I mean, that's why you can't be like, what do they call those, helicopter managers or
Right.
like helicopter parents who just kind of come around every once in a
No.
while and just bark
Yeah.
orders. It doesn't work, especially now. I can imagine. So are you? You're not hands on in Tocaya anymore, right? You're hands
Silent
off,
partner, which great is we're
silent
doing
partner,
their training though. We're building
supporting.
content training for them, which was really fun going back to just going back in and seeing some of the people that are still there and bringing in a camera and building custom content for them is pretty fun. But yeah, I'm completely hands off with that in the Madera group. Just K1s and you know, and they're smart that
That's
they
good.
brought in the
Good
company.
thing. I have I probably definitely have reached out to you guys to try to get some real estate business because I fucking love the brand. I love the look. I've never been in one, but I'm looking at it now. I just get it. Like I mean, was that what was the intent? Were you part of the team that
So it
created this
was, so
concept?
when I mentioned the person who brought me in, right, they had two locations, and the person who brought me in is a partner and their real estate arm. So they, so they,
Yeah, right.
yeah,
I've learned that. Yeah,
incredible. And so, I'm keeping out of respect for you and your business, I'm keeping names out of the games.
yeah, yeah, yeah. No,
Rachel
no, good.
Rosenberg,
That's
so
all good.
Berg, so just a
Yeah,
mentor, a friend, um, and I think she's great at um, at what you're talking about. So it's really about what you're doing right there is looking at things with a holistic perspective of how do we put people together to make it work. Oh, this is a missing ingredient. And when you're not just the real estate broker, you see what's needed, you see the playing field, you tell them what they need, uh, right? So you're a
yeah,
leader, very much a leader in businesses that are growing because a lot of them don't know what they need and they think they do. And I'm a huge fan of working with people that will tell you you're out of your mind and have these difficult conversations because
yeah.
it only works to your benefit. So I again going back to you in that sense, I love how you're taking this holistic approach. I think putting people together in operational teams and things like that is just huge. Just the same way that I think the insurance company needs to be more involved in making sure culture's right. The
Yeah.
real estate partner can have a huge hand in site selection, in team selection, in operational efficiencies, in all of that stuff. So I was brought in at two locations by her to say they need you and you need them. I know you were starting this tech thing. You can go back to that. This is a playground that you're just going to love. Go take equity, go work, go be their. So I said, all right, I'll be their COO and I'm going to build a team for the next 2 years. And that's what I did.
I mean, I didn't pay you to say that about the real estate part, but it is going to be clipped and used several times over and over. I'm just going to heads up. But no, but like seriously, that's what I say to people. I'm like, because their role has shifted, and it's like I'm not. I don't want to just show people space. I don't want to do the one-off restaurant, help you find a spot in the West Village or in Greenwich. I don't want to like Let's build something together. And you're going to want me to in that room for those conversations. I have no problem being on those calls or going to those meetings. The more I know about your brand, the better I can position you in a market, the better I can get you set up in front of a landlord, the better I can work with your marketing team to have this video or this deck put together that we're going to present to the landlord immediately after we reach out about the space with our financial. Like, I know this group, this is what the expectation is. It's so hard to overcome years of basically, I think, just this fucked up dynamic of brokers throwing sites at restaurants and restaurants having to react to what's available. And, like, it's just a weird thing. And when you find a group that gets it, they're like, now I don't have to stress about all that stuff. Like, we build a custom platform. You can go on there. You can look at everything at your own time at the end of the night while you're having lunch. And it's like, you want a connection. The real estate person, I mean, it's your biggest expense, right? One of your biggest expenses. And if you're not aware that you could have saved $5 a square foot or gotten $300,000 from the landlord to help build you out, like,
And
how
how
about
about
trying to prove to somebody?
how about your general contractor relationships? How about your accounting your not accounting, architectural relationships? I mean, I learned a long time ago, I like it when my architect and my general contractor know each other, but they didn't come together because I need somebody to hold somebody accountable.
Yeah, no, yeah, they're too, yeah, when they're
So
too close,
you're
they work against you.
I see it as what you're doing is you're creating a holistic experience that's coming at it, and part of it is really driving. This is your next move. This is your growth, and it comes down to. And I've seen Rachel be good at this, and I've seen other people be good at this. Pushing somebody where they're uncomfortable, but for their own good, and not just a no. Getting them to
Yeah,
move fast on a yes. And there's going to be risks, and you're going to get kicked in the
yeah,
groin. And at the end of the day, you look at the scorecard and you regroup. But I think you're in a position as well, with your experience and the way you're approaching all of this, to push people to a yes. The thing, though, is it's about building the trust that I'm not getting you to a yes because I can get the commission on this. It has nothing to do with that. This is the right move for you,
yeah,
and you're going
right.
to miss this
No,
opportunity, and or no. It's funny, is I used to, when I was selling retail
yeah,
clothes, sure, we all did a bunch of different stuff. You would try to tell somebody that something didn't look good on them, so they would build trust with you, and then you could tell them when it did look good.
yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, I have lost probably 10% of my deals strictly because I didn't like the garbage situation at restaurants. I didn't have to open my mouth about the garbage, right? I'm not going to be there after you sign the lease, but it bothers me. It bothers me. You mean there's no way to get the garbage out the back? We can't access that alley. We can't just come through this door. We can't do anything. We can't be dragging garbage through our dining room, and people assist or stacking up in the kitchen. It's a health violation. Yeah, it's probably cost me more money than I want to admit, but yeah, I think I want to be able to provide, and it happened to me in reverse. Like, I wanted to get into real estate because it wasn't something else. I had to distance myself from the industry for a minute, and I was like, this is a good way, and my experience can be of some value. But then it started turning into, I tell everybody all the time, like, people will say, hey, do you know a guy with a training company? But they'll also
Yeah.
ask me, like, do you know a bread guy? Do you know anybody looking for a bar back, or do you know a bar back looking for work? And you got to find a way to line yourself with a team, because I don't want to be that. But I realize that need is out there. I think sometimes restaurants just, I don't know, they're just been, they get a little PTSD when it comes to working with brokers and
And
trying
the
to
way that
break
you
down
can
those
do it is the way
barriers.
you're doing it, which is the way you can do it is the way you're doing it. It's really wise. Good, Berkowitz. Is putting information out there beyond the scope of what you're just capitalizing off of, and adding value beyond,
Yeah,
which is great. And that's how I'm looking to do it with myself. Right? I look at safety, culture, compliance, leadership. It's a baseline. I love that and that's what we're saying, was I love that I've got this app that, oh my God, this thing looks beautiful. What content can we continue to push inside of this? We've got a content arm and an app arm. What's even beyond the scope? This book, Unreasonable Hospitality, and I just did a post on LinkedIn. I tagged
oh
you in there.
yeah,
I'm obsessed over it, and I'm going to bring it into the launching of this, and it's what you're doing as well. What is so unreasonable based on the transaction that we agreed to in some sort of contract I'm showing up to dinner, whatever it is, you're going to sign up to the app. What is it that we can go so above and beyond that it's unreasonable? That's my chair. That's so above and beyond that it's almost unreasonable and so I love that I have this platform that I can start to work with restaurants and say, and organizations. We work with some really cool Detroit brands, Shinola. But how do we build something that becomes this? How do I get Kyle given the tips and I'm dropping that into cooks and different people into this platform? How do we build on this information far beyond the expected transaction, but so valuable?
Yeah, I mean, I haven't read that book, but I keep hearing that same thing about them, and I love that unexpected hospitality, that over the top sort of anticipating the needs type of service. And it doesn't have to be anything big. It's just, it just goes to like
Yeah.
show that you're paying attention. Like I've seen that clip of him talking about
Right.
the hot dog,
Right.
the New
Right.
York City hot dog for that group that came in, and it's things like that though that make a difference. Make people. There's a restaurant here in Westchester County that when you left, you got muffins for
We
breakfast. So it was like they stayed top
Yeah,
of
we
mind,
used to
which
do
I
that
think is
at
great. I love stuff
Colicchio
like
at
that.
Kraft. It was great.
Um,
We did that.
oh, oh my God, can I tell you my Tom Colicchio story
Yeah.
before we get into our last three hot seat questions? All right. I don't know if I ever said this on the podcast, but whatever, fuck it. I was a line cook at the time, and you're kind of trying to get out of a situation. You want to go on trails to other places, but you can't lose your job. Like I wasn't sitting on a mountain of cash where I can go chill for a couple of weeks, so I had to so I had gone on a trail at a place, and I had my resume in at Kraft, and this was probably like 2003, 2004, and the day before I had gone on a trail, didn't like it, so I hear from Kraft the next day, and they're like, "Can you come in tomorrow and trail?" And I'm like, "Oh fuck." I
Yeah.
already
Yeah.
had
Yeah.
my fake
Yeah.
dentist appointment yesterday,
Right.
and I
Right.
can't do it again tomorrow. And I kind of whoever I was talking to, I was like hemming and hawing. The guy, I was like, "How about next week?" This guy, and the guy was hemming and hawing. Tom Colicchio grabbed the phone, right? Because I guess then he was hands on in the kitchen doing whatever, and he's like, "Do you fucking want to work here or not?" And I was like,
Oh, that's so good.
I was like, yeah, and I think I just hung up because I was like, fuck, dude. I was like working in the kitchen. I was had trailed yesterday, so things were all like fucked up from today for that day. Like things weren't right. I wanted to work at Kraft. It was like a cool place at the time, and then I was like, no, forget it. But yeah, that's my. Every time I see him on TV, I think about that. But it's true.
It's
Like, fuck you, kid. Do you
it's
want to work
great.
here or not? Figure it out.
And I
Yeah.
I love it. As simple as much as you can take things to just a binary plus or minus, yes or no, one or zero, thumbs up, thumbs down. We know, right? We try to analyze it. We try to figure it out. We know. Just go with the goddamn answer and stop wasting time.
Yeah.
He had a great line to me when
Yeah.
we were opening up
Exactly.
Kraft out here, which is no one's dying on the operating table. So, it was two good things. And one, he was very popular as a celebrity at that point. And he was like, I know I'm popular here, but I'm a cook. I'm a restaurant guy. I'm not a douchey. Like, please be cool. You represent me. We're not some high end celebrity place. Like, we're pumping out high end food. This is a good experience. Just be cool with people. I dug that.
Hey, don't be a dick. Yeah. Just be cool with people. Um, that's interesting. All right, man. I feel like we could talk forever, but I gotta hit you with our last three questions so we can all get around to
There it is.
our day jobs, right? So there. So let's see. What are my questions? I forget what they are. Okay, you and we're backpacking somewhere in Europe, or we're traveling somewhere, and we get separated, and our phones die. But I gotta find you. We gotta get back to the airport. What type of establishment am I most likely to find you in? What type of restaurant, bar, coffee shop? Like, where am I gonna? If I gotta look, where am I most likely to see you sitting there? Like, oh, come on, let's go.
As long as it's after 10, because I'll be doing coffee or something, I would say a wine bar with a great happy hour. And so, because if they're a wine bar with a great happy hour, chances are they're just going to have a good, snacks, cheese, salumi, charcuterie. I, I,
Yeah,
I just give me
that's it.
salty, sweet,
Yeah,
smoky, Parmesan. Give me and
yeah,
a little wine, and I just want to sit there. And I don't care if we're inside, we're at a corner, we're at the bar, we're outside, we're sitting on the curb. I don't care. That's where you're gonna find
yeah. You what? What? Okay.
me.
Um, in that vein, what is your favorite restaurant in LA like that?
That's fantastic. I think AOC's got a great vibe. I think Marvin's a great one. Maud is a cool one. Stanley's Wet Goods is a great no BS. You'll get your just awesome pours. Staff's really cool. They know what they're talking about.
Mm.
And really good glasses. So that's it. And we go up to I love going up to the Central Coast, outside Santa Barbara, and there's some really cool spots around there too. So couple selections for you there.
Yeah, really. All right, fair. Okay, last question. You can have dinner with any three people in history. Anyone from Bugs Bunny, Jesus Christ, everyone in between. Real life, dead, fictional, not. Who are the three people and
So
where
I
are you
did
going
think
to eat?
about this one because I knew this question was coming because well, I mean, do you
Oh,
want to know you're
jeez.
working with people who listen to Close Monday? And so,
I do. I
um,
do.
and Benihana is where I'm eating. That's the restaurant.
Well, that's the restaurant. Side note, did
Yeah,
you know that his
yeah.
son is Steve
From
Aoki?
from the
I saw that
documentary.
documentary.
I
Yeah.
love. You will find me at the greatest. You will find me right at uh, Calicchio, right? Kraft or Chris Cosentino, incredible chef, right?
Yeah.
And you'll find me at Olive Garden, and you'll find me at the greatest Korean barbecue around the corner, and you're gonna find me at Benihana, which is and I'm and it's just that's it. So you're gonna find me. Yeah, no,
No
absolutely.
apology.
That ginger dressing just changed my life. Benihana. So I was thinking about Ben Franklin because he's just an interesting
Interesting.
guy. He's just debaucherous enough that we're gonna have fun. He's obviously incredibly intelligent and can tell us some great stories. Barack Obama. Uh, does he?
He comes up a lot.
If I was going to pick,
Yeah.
yeah, if I
Barack's
was
got
going to pick
that
one
charisma, I
president, it used to
guess.
be Bill Clinton to a degree, but Obama's just so cool. Um, and I want to hear him kind of shoot the shit with Ben Franklin and that. And then, not that I used to listen to the music a bunch, but he popped up the other day and it made me think he would just be a great addition, Jerry Garcia. And I just think
Mm.
the three and the four of us would be just the right amount of human, political, artistic. I don't know, not to sound douchey with that, but while eating at fucking Benihana. So if I don't want to listen to him, I'm going to focus on the mustard sauce and the dressing.
But you also all
Yeah,
sounds like you all could
it's
get high
great.
together too. You get
It's
the
great.
yeah. I don't know about Ben Franklin, but he would definitely
Yeah.
he might be the drunk one. Like you're messing up everyone's vibe, but you
We'll
can hang with
totally
that. It
make
can
it
make it
work.
work.
And it's funny, right? Some
Um,
people, right? Do you choose your family? Sure. Like for my third, I was going to put my husband, but he just
yeah.
he would he wouldn't be as excited about the conversation. You're out, Jerry's in.
Yeah. Jerry
Yeah,
Garcia is here. You got to understand.
yeah,
You got to dinner with him all the time, I'm sure. And Jerry Garcia,
yeah.
Ben
Maybe over
Franklin, yeah.
Bob Weir, I'd take
Yeah.
you. Sorry, not to get too geeky on. Again, I'm not.
He's
He's on the
he's on the
bench.
bench. All right, fair enough. Um, so what you said you have a book coming out. What's next? Where can
Yeah.
people get a hold of
So
you?
yeah.
Lay it on me.
Jason Berkowitz, LinkedIn. Jason D. Berkowitz, I think it is. I love it on there. JD Berk, David.
What does the D stand for?
Jason David Berkowitz.
Okay.
Used to get fun Son of Sam jokes growing up. Never was really that fun.
I
That
was
was a
gonna
rough
say that
one.
would probably be rough. Yeah.
And so I was coming in from actually customs into New York once, and he's looking at my license going back and forth. I go, come on, man, just let me go. What is this, the playground? Um, and so there, JD Burko are my handles. Otherwise, starting to, our friend Sean Walchef, who I know you called him out, and we
Yep.
yeah, incredible guy.
Definitely.
And these he's
Yeah.
really good at both leading from the front and pushing from the back to get us to be more public and present. So on these clubhouse that we jump in on, I'm doing more
Yeah.
posts for both the personal brand, which is we're all a little fucked up, and just sort of finding tools of disarming and working together. And then on the professional side, check out Arrow Up Training and Jason at arrowuptraining.com, and let me know if you're an independent restaurant, what do you want, right? We're making content. What do people want? And then if you're a growing brand, you should get in touch with us because we're gonna head it off at the pass for you.
Yeah. That's fucking amazing. Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for the time. I appreciate it. And yeah, we're gonna have to get that omakase. I don't know if you have any plans to come to New York anytime soon, or
Yeah,
what's your
not.
West
I
Coast?
missed this InsureTech conference this
People
month,
fit-
but there's a couple gigs that are brewing. We'll see if they work. That I'll be coming to New York. That'll be fun. Again, I'll keep my hands in the consulting here and there, just so I'm not BSing and I know what I'm talking about. So yeah, your phone's ringing
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
coming. So that'll be fun.
Let me know. Let me know. All right, dude. Well, have a great day, and
Thanks for the time.
thanks for the
Good
time.
chatting.
All right, it's good to see you. We'll leave. Oh, wait.